Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Radio Geonosis, where we talk about Star Wars from a certain point of view. I'm Angie.
And I'm Aaron. What's going on, guys?
Hey, and today we're going to be talking about Star Wars inspiration, what brought us to where we are today.
Yes.
Yeah, but before we do that, we're going to be doing some hot happenings this week. Woo! Aaron, do you have any gaming hot happenings?
Well, I do have some gaming hot happenings. Last week I spoke about Jump Force, and I spoke about Anthem being two hyped up games, but not really living up to expectations. So this week is just some minor hot happenings. If you guys have PlayStation
Did
Plus,
someone come after you with a pitchfork?
No one did.
You out of town?
Surprisingly, honestly, no one did, because I do have friends who do have Jump Force. They bought the pre-order. They pre-ordered and paid the $99 for the special edition and all that stuff. So yeah, I did have some friends who were just like, it's not the best game, but you don't have to rag on it. But at the same time, who cares? But this week, if you guys have PlayStation Plus, you guys should know that Hitman, the Deluxe Edition, is available on PlayStation Plus for free, and so is For Honor for free. I have For Honor like the original version, so I don't need it. But again, Hitman and For Honor are both on PlayStation Plus for free. So if you have PlayStation Plus, make sure you guys download those free games. They're like two awesome games. And if you don't have PlayStation Plus, find $10 and get yourself a month. You know what I mean? And you get a month free, and then you also get a month that you pay for. So make sure you guys get that. And other from gaming news, Avengers Endgame, the Avengers Marvel team put out a new trailer today, and it was amazing. It was amazing. It basically just shoved the whole 10 years in one. So it was awesome to see the beginning of, phase 1 being Iron Man, all the way through the Captain Americas and Thors and everything in the other Avenger movies to now, and it's Endgame now. So it's definitely bittersweet, but I'm so ready for April 26th. So that's my hot happening, really.
Woo! Well, some hot happenings in Star Wars.
Yes.
Is Galaxy's Edge is going to have a panel at Celebration. And so that's going to be really cool. I think they're going to be talking about what we're going to see at Galaxy's Edge.
Okay.
Because they're officially going to open it May 31st. Uh-huh. And I think it opens just a little bit later. It'll be doing it here on May 31st, but it'll be in Florida. It'll be opening just a little bit later.
Okay.
So I'm not sure, but they're going to be at Celebration, which I'm really bummed. Like I said, I'm bummed I'm not going. And I swear, if Ewan McGregor is there, I'm going to be so mad. Episode 9, here's some interesting news. Episode 9 footage was shown to Disney shareholders.
I heard about that.
Damn, why aren't we shareholders?
I don't know. Because you have to have a lot of sharing. You have to be able to share a lot. That's why. That's exactly why.
Oh, man. I'm like, dang, man, why couldn't I be a shareholder?
But I heard about that, though. I did hear about that scrolling down the good old internet. I did hear that there are people who already...
That had to have been before yesterday.
And what they mean by shareholders are basically the people who run the country. No, I'm just kidding.
Pretty much.
Pretty much, honestly, if you think about it, yeah.
Well, we've got Anacon coming up this weekend at the Anaheim Public Library. That's going to be on March 16th at 10 o'clock. We're going to have the Droid Builders, the 501st, Rebel Legion, and Saber Guild. And we're going to also be doing a little show. We have usually when we're at a library, we'll do a couple of shows, but this is going to be just one show that we do throughout the day, the day.
That's awesome.
So that's kind of cool. I'll be working the table with my friend Crystal, who's coming back this weekend. Woo! She's been on hiatus. And then on April 27th, we have Comic Orange 2019, and I believe that's going to be in the city of Orange. Okay. I don't have all the details yet, but we're in the process of, getting everything together. And then on May 25th, please mark your calendars. This is the Paul Biani Library Star Wars Reads event. This is huge. This is the biggest one in all of the United States.
Okay.
4,000 people come to this.
Wow.
So it is a big deal.
Mark your calendars.
Mark your calendar for that. So that's all our happenings this week. So we're going to talk about what got us to where we are today. Mm-hmm. So Aaron, what inspired you? What was the beginning, the sparking point for you to get into Star Wars?
Well, for me, Star Wars, if you guys been watching, listening to the Rotation podcast like you should be doing.
Yes, please do.
For me, it all started when the Star Wars movies got re-released in theaters in the early 2000s, I believe. It was the early 2000s, I believe.
Yes, because...
Really early 2000s.
It might have even been soon.
It might have been
99 was the
exactly.
was the Phantom Menace because it's 20 years this year.
Yeah, so my dad took me to Magic Johnson Theater. I was living in South Central Los Angeles at the time. My dad took me to Magic Johnson Theater because it was the only theater in LA that were replaying the Star Wars movies. And my dad was the only
cool movie theater.
Yeah,
by the way.
And my dad was a huge Star Wars fan growing up, so he made sure I was. He made sure he took me. My brother didn't go. My brother wasn't really into sci-fi stuff. He was into cars mostly. So it was just me and my dad who went, and that was my first Star Wars experience. But I was still so young after that. I didn't get back into Star Wars until really Episode 2. I saw Episode 1 later on, The Phantom Menace. But I saw Episode 2 and Episode 3. That's when I started getting into Star Wars heavy. Started getting folders, pencils, pens, shirts, and stuff like that as a kid. And then it's been a part of me ever since. But I think what really got my Star Wars connection even stronger than that, because again, when Episode 2 and 3 were out, I was still younger. But it would have to be, the video games. The video games for me are what, got me into or made my Star Wars connection even deeper. From the Battlefront 1, 2, Pod Racers at the arcade. I remember when they brought that to Chuck E. Cheese. I was losing my mind when they brought Power Rangers to Chuck E. Cheese. Jedi Academy, when you play as Luke Skywalker with his own Jedi Academy, and you have to train your students, and your school is being looked for by the by the Empire and stuff like that. So for me, Star Wars, it came from the games, because the movies I didn't understand till later, and it took really a character named Galen Merrick, who I always brag about on this show, to really dive into the Star Wars world, as far as going on Wikipedia links and just searching the internet all the way to the dark Star Wars web, finding out characters I didn't even know about, races I didn't even know about, creatures I didn't even know about, from vehicles to still some vehicles I didn't even know about, and the techniques, tactics, and emperors and this person. So it was really the video games that really got me heavily connected to Star Wars, and I have not looked back since. And a lot of that goes to, of course, the games, but the Star Wars Force Unleashed team who did Star Wars Force Unleashed 1 and 2. Thank you guys, because if it wasn't for you guys, I would of course be a Star Wars fan, but I would be oblivious to a lot more than I am.
But also thank George, because
of course,
he allowed them to have at it. He allowed them to say, you know what, you're going to do a game. Let's see what you come up with.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And he didn't stand in their way. He let them be creative.
And I watched the documentary basically of them making Star Wars Force Unleashed 2 nights ago. And they were talking about from the senior level designers to the to the writers of the game, to the head developers and everything like that. He gave them the range to create the story from scratch, create this character named Galen Merrick. At the time, it was the biggest Star Wars game. That was the plan. The plan was to make it the biggest Star Wars game to ever come out, bigger than Battlefront 1 and 2. Because to me, I think those were ahead of their time in the first place. And those were ahead of their time in the first place. But he gave them the creative, basically everything was at their disposal, from from Skywalker Ranch to everything. They were allowed to go any and everywhere, be around George Lucas, and if it wasn't for George allowing them to do so, then we wouldn't have had that game.
I think in a way, if Disney gave people a little bit more, and which I think that they are, giving people a little bit of more creative reign, you might see some really interesting things. And to me, that's cool when they allow them to do that, because people can bring their own concept and ideas that they have wanted, to talk about for a long time.
Yeah.
And in watching a lot of Star Wars, you come up with, hey, this is cool, or that's cool, or, that's a really great idea. And so, to be able to have that creative difference and be able to create something totally awesome for the stories, to carry on, to go on with the Star Wars stories.
And we were talking about too, the reason that we were talking about that, as far as when the a lot more people are doing the short films, and allowing people like that to get their foot in the door, because obviously, if you allow directors, you allow different directors to put their spin on it. And some directors, like we both know, you don't like the direction Episode 8 went in, but there are people on the come up who have like interesting takes on certain events that happen throughout the universe. So you have to give them, I think the only way you're gonna keep, what you have going, and it's gonna lead you on in the future is by letting those people getting their foot in the door. Not necessarily saying you have to let them just direct a movie, but let them like get a taste of what it may be like and create, or just be in the boardroom, be in the marketing room, or be in the room in the writer's room. Like that's how you're gonna push the culture of Star Wars
farther.
Forward. Yeah, that's honestly that to me, and it's been proven in other areas of entertainment or things like that. So
yeah,
for me again, it was essentially the video games. 'Cause I didn't understand the movies till I got older,
I think the very first time I saw Star Wars, I think I was maybe in the 8th grade. I'm 7th, 8th grade, somewhere in that neighborhood. And I watched it, and at first it didn't make sense to me because I really didn't understand. I was a young kid too.
Yeah.
And nothing like this had ever happened. I didn't read any of the books, so I got to see 1, 2, and I got to see A New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi. And I had thought at that time, that's it. We're not going to see anymore. That's it. That's all for Star Wars.
Yeah.
I didn't know that there were books. I didn't know there were games. I didn't know there were there were all kinds of different aspects of it. Because I never really looked. Because I was a young kid, I didn't really understand it.
Yeah.
And when 1, 2, and 3 came around, I took my kids to see it, and I really wasn't. I loved it, but I really wasn't that into it.
So you weren't sold on it.
I wasn't sold on it only because something hadn't struck me yet.
Yeah.
Because you're raising kids. I'm raising kids and stuff, and so I really didn't think anything of it. But it wasn't until I talked to one of my friends, Marie. We were at work, and we happened to be. This is when I worked in Victorville. We happened to be talking about comic books and things like that, and so she started talking to me about Comic-Con. And so I thought, okay, I'd like to go to this because I really am interested in comic books. I like superheroes. I like all these things. Mm-hmm. So I ended up going to Comic-Con in 2008 and absolutely loved it. There was a big Star Wars thing there. So I thought, oh my gosh, this is really cool.
Yeah.
And so in 2011, they had a Star Wars concert, and it was like just a mishmash of all 6 movies. Now, we didn't have 7 and 8 yet. And so it was just all of the movies put together.
Yeah.
And they did all the different songs and things from the movies. And it kind of sold me right there. But still, I wasn't in it yet.
Yeah.
And so I was cosplaying. I started cosplaying. And this is me evolving here. Mm-hmm. And so then I went to... oh my gosh, it was Stan Lee's Comic-Con.
LA Comic-Con.
LA Comic-Con. I happened to be walking by the Rebel Legion table, and I meet this guy named Gabe. And I ask him about it. I grab a pamphlet, and I said, tell me about this. So he told me all about what they do. I saw everybody dressed up in these Star Wars costumes, and I thought, this is for me.
So it was cosplay for you.
I want to do it. So it was costumes. It was seeing people in the costumes that did it for me.
Okay.
And seeing the Jedi, seeing the, everyone in the rebels dressed in their orange, the pilots, and seeing Darth Vader. I was like, this is what I want to do.
'Cause that's more so like immersion. That's like, I could like when I saw you at Comic-Con. Was it the Comic-Con or the WonderCon when I saw you guys all at the...
Oh, yeah, at the table.
Yeah, it's the, you're immersed yourself into just the cosplay culture.
I think it was the fact that I could physically do it myself.
So, yeah.
And so then I talked to him about it, and I went home, and I said, Mark, I want to do this. I'm going to get a costume. But at that time, I didn't know where to buy them. I didn't know where to buy a lightsaber. I had no idea what to do. Uh-huh. And so I went to work, and I talked to my friend Venetia, and she goes, hey, I've got a friend that does lightsaber fighting. And I was like, really? And she goes, yeah, he comes in every once in a while. So Jim happened to come in, and I about ran him over.
He came into
the restaurant,
Red Robin?
And he just happened to be coming in one day.
Was this when Red Robin was across the freeway on?
No. This was when we're in Apple Valley.
Apple Valley, okay.
I'm in Apple Valley now, and so this was just 5 years, 2015. Uh-huh. And so it was the beginning of 2015. He comes into the restaurant, and I about ran him over. Tell me about it. What's going on here? What is this? And so he told me all about it, told me to go to practice with him. So I went with him to practice, and there you go. I was sold from that point on. Boom.
So it was the cosplay.
It was the cosplay.
So when did the movie started? You know, because at first you took your kids to see the movies.
The movies
1, 2, and 3.
Yeah, I saw 4, 5, and 6.
6.
And Mark's never really watched them, but 4, 5, and 6. And then I took my kids to see 1, 2, and 3. But they weren't really my kids were gamers, but they liked Halo. They liked all the other stuff.
Yeah.
You know, and my sons, they watched. They would watch the Clone Wars. When they first came out. They were watching them on TV. But I still wasn't sold because I don't think that I didn't really have the mindset there yet. You know, because I was still raising, you know, young kids, you know, and teenagers. So you really don't have the, you know, all you're focused on is, you know, kids, you know. And so I didn't have that time to do it. But it wasn't until I physically got into a costume. You know, the very first one was Laura Croft. And so the very first time I put it on, I'm like, you know what? I just absolutely love doing this.
Yeah.
And so, and I did that in my 40s. So I started putting on costumes. I always say you're never too late. You're never too young. Just do what you want to do.
You got to do what you want to do.
Right.
Absolutely.
But it wasn't until I cruised by that table and I saw Gabe and he handed me that and told me, hey, you know, it's a really cool thing to do. You need to do this. You know what? I'm doing it. I am doing it.
So the interest of like being not necessarily a Star Wars historian, but knowledgeable in the Star Wars universe. When did that come along?
Once you're
once you put that first cosplay suit on,
even before that, before that, when I was going after I was talking to Jim and I would talk on the way there to practice because we'd practice down in Chino. So I'd start asking him questions like, what about this? How about that? What about this? And he had all the answers for it. And I thought, you know what? I need to have the answers for this. And so I started researching and I started seeing all of this stuff. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is a whole world of Star Wars that I didn't even know existed. Yeah. Now I tell everybody.
Yeah. Literally.
Literally.
You have your own show about it. So after that first Comic-Con experience, did you go back and rewatch the movies? Did you?
Yes.
Did you? Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
I went back, I rewatched the movies. I watched I had them all, and you know, and I had them on VHS of all things.
Yeah.
And we talked about that too because you know the Revenge of the Sith is the only one not released on VHS.
Yes.
That's when DVD came into play.
And
now even those are out.
No, those are out. Yeah, now it's all about digital. Now it's all digital copies.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. See, again, for me, it was more so the games and more so like there was the Star Wars, the Clone Wars, but there was the straight cartoon version.
Right.
Before that was
right. What was I think it was wasn't it the first Clone Wars?
It was the first Clone Wars. Yeah. Then Then other Clone Wars came out with the 3D, the CGI.
Yeah.
You know, characters. So that's when Star Wars started to make more sense because they were like broken down into just 22-minute episodes.
Right,
You know what I mean? Instead of, you know, you're a kid, you can't really sit and watch the Star Wars movies for like just straight 3 hours, not even knowing, you know, you really don't know what's going on. But then, you know, you have that appreciation when you get older and you just realize how deep it is. Like, you really, like, not only the whole world, it's like a whole galaxy.
Right.
Really.
And I think it has to come to a certain point where you're like, ding, it makes sense. It's like what we were talking about that one time about music. Mm-hmm. At one point you didn't like it, but now you're listening to it and you're thinking, you know what, this isn't so bad.
Yeah.
You know, what was I not hearing? I think it's a matter of you're in the right place at the right time.
Yeah. And even for Arlie, like Arlie, he thought like Star Wars was just straight, like, you know, like the nerdest of the nerd, and which it is, honestly. Like we could be like 100% on that, but like he didn't know how deep the story was, like or how good the story was, and like what the story was about.
A family,
pretty
much a family.
So I remember it was honestly when we first got the shop here, is when I told Arlen. He came in one day and I was here like waiting for him. We're gonna paint, and he was like, and I brought I brought my PS4 and I had episode 3 on there. And I was like, bro, just, you know, we're going to be here all day painting. Just check out the movie. And, like, you know, you're going to like it.
Have it in the background.
Yeah, and it was just playing in the background. And then, like, we're painting. And then, like, as we're painting, it's, like, a lot more, like... Whoa, go back. I just missed it. I'm like, oh, you missed it. Like, you like it, right? So going back and now, like, if you look at it, his little Darth Vader, praise
Shrine over there.
He can't even, you know what I mean? Because it was episode 3 was the first one he saw.
Yeah.
And it was like heavy dark.
And it's the one that it's the deepest.
It's the deepest one. So it left that print. It left that imprint on him that Darth Vader is his guy, because at the same time he didn't. Darth Vader's more like, at the end of the day, he did very like heinous things, but you're in a situation where, of course, we're like, I understand. I kind of understand, though. You know what I mean? Of course, not force choking your beloved or anything like that. But the like what he felt he stood on, whatever moral ground that was, you kind of understand. You know what I mean? And that's kind of the imprint he left on him. So anyone I know that like saw Star, like they never seen it, but they end up watching it, like they end up like, I didn't think I would like it, but you. End up like, it's
I hear it all the time.
Yeah, honestly, I do too. Even at work.
Yeah.
Like Alex, he was like, yeah, you do the show with Angie, right? I'm like, yeah, we doing Stars. He was like, man, I don't watch that shit, man. I don't watch it. I'm like, check it out, bro. You might like it. Like, just look at something. So I sent them a link of just the Darth Vader like short film, fan film. I was like, check it out, bro. Watch, you'll dig it. It's like people are getting sliced up and shit like that. He was like, this is what he does? I'm like, this is what he does.
Yeah, I think that's why he's so loved. He's such a villain of the galaxy, but yet the most popular.
Yeah, everyone knows who Darth Vader is. Everyone knows how he breathes. Everyone knows, like, the line. Like, everyone knows. Everybody knows.
Everybody knows.
Whether you want to or not.
Exactly. And, when my kids were younger and, we'd watch on TBS, the weekends, they'd do a Star Wars thing, I'd always watch it.
Yeah.
I would always watch it, even before I was involved.
Mm-hmm.
But when I first went to Comic-Con, it, like we were talking about, it opens a whole big door for you that you didn't even know existed.
Yeah.
Because, you don't run around in those circles. My daughter was in cheer, my son was doing skateboarding, my other one was racing motorcycles, and my older one, he was already off, doing his own thing. And you don't pay attention to that because that's not in the forefront of your mind. Something else, you're doing something else. But I always loved it. I still love the movies.
Mm-hmm.
I always watch them. I love the movies. But I wasn't really, like I said, I wasn't really a big fan. At that time, I was a bigger fan with Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
I really loved Lord of the Rings. And I still do. I still do.
Absolutely.
I have a whole bedroom just dedicated to it.
Yeah.
I don't have a room dedicated to Star Wars, but in my bedroom I have a huge shelf, and in my desk it's all.
But you guys have all the
toys.
books too. You have
all
plenty
of the
books too.
Now, but this is from this is old canon. This is not the new canon.
Got you.
It's the old canon, but I made sure to collect them all because Mark is reading them. I think he's at 100 right now.
Yeah.
He has read 100.
See, he likes the books, but
he loves the books, but hates the movies. That makes no sense.
I don't know. I don't know how you could like the books and not like the movies.
But you know what? He'll sit and watch them. He'll sit and watch them and ask me stuff.
Because he likes them.
Yeah, he does. He doesn't want to admit
it. He does like them because you can't like the books and not like the movies.
Exactly.
I know everyone has their preference, but you can't.
Because he knows I would say, you know what? You need to do it. And then last week we couldn't figure out who did the Force Awakens. It's J.J. Abrams. It was J.J. Abrams. I'm like, we couldn't figure it out.
I don't know why we couldn't remember his
I think
name.
we were too focused on Chris.
So I think so too. Would Mark ever go to has he been to a con?
Yes.
Yeah, then what was
he went to Comic-Con, very crowded. He didn't like that.
Okay.
Very crowded. He's been to WonderCon.
There's nothing they can do about that.
He's very WonderCon he went to. It was all right. Uh-huh. He likes the one in Vegas.
Okay.
And it's coming up in April.
It's coming up in April. Yeah,
so I may be going to that.
April, is it later in April?
Later. It might even be the same time as Celebration.
Okay, so you might go to that because Celebration.
Yes, because I'm all sad I didn't go. But you know what? I just couldn't afford it. Sometimes you have to say, you know what? I'm just gonna have to put up a tent and stay here. Because it is a
trip. It is a trip. You're making a trip like.
You have to have you with WonderCon at the end of the month. I'm going to be staying down in the Anaheim area and all that, and then I would have had to fly to Chicago. And then staying, at a hotel, and it's just a lot. And I just didn't have enough money to do it.
Okay.
Angie does not have I'm not privileged.
Well, because I know if I had the money to do so, I'd be at the Chicago Comic. That's coming up.
The Chicago Celebration.
Celebration,
Yes,
Celebration
in Chicago.
Yeah, that's so. I know if I, exactly what we were just talking about, but I know if I had some money set aside, that's where I would be.
I you know what, and I've been to 2 of them. I've absolutely loved it. The very first time I went to one, I went the first day as Ahsoka, and my version of Ahsoka, if she was older. This was before the older Ahsoka came out with Rebels.
With Rebels,
and then I did one of Padme's handmaidens, which in the like orangey kind of costume.
Yeah.
The very first day I went, I didn't want to leave. At 5:00. Mark came to get me, and I didn't want to leave. I was like, I want to stay.
Yeah.
I want to stay till the end.
Yeah.
And the second day, I was the same way. Everybody wanted to leave early. I was really mad. I wanted to stay.
You wanted to stay and check it out.
I wanted to stay longer. I'd only bought 2 days.
Yeah.
And so the following celebration, which was in Florida, because there was one in England, but I didn't go to that one. So I went to the one in Florida. I went there for all 4 days. And
wow.
I think it was Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I was there all day. I was there till they closed the doors.
When was that? When was that celebration?
That one was in 2017.
Okay.
16.
So it wasn't too long ago either way.
Wait, 16 and then 17 was in Florida.
Yeah.
And then 18, they took a time off. And then now 19 is Chicago.
Chicago. Right. Okay. I would love to one day go to a Star Wars celebration.
Well, hopefully they'll bring it back to Anaheim. Next year they're saying possibly Anaheim.
Hopefully, because the thing also too, everyone wants to come to California anyway. So it's like, why would you?
I don't know why, but
I'll tell you why. Women, weed, and weather is why. Is why.
I don't know about the weather part.
but you know what? Again, like for the people listening to this episode, if you guys would like to even just tell us what got you into it. It kind of even dates back to basically the first episode we had, like coming out the closet, basically,
right.
As far as like your geekdom.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
I've always had it in me. It just didn't come out until I didn't come out until 2008.
I'm a huge fan of just people's origin stories of what made them get to like something.
Yeah.
And your origin story, like what got you into Star Wars, was a lot more epic than mine was, because I've yet to cosplay. I will, but I've yet to do so. But I'm just a huge fan of just seeing everyone, making their costumes, taking the time out from the detail. They're like. But yeah, like I was saying, I'm just a fan of everyone putting their costumes together, how people put their costume together. Especially that year I saw the Rebel Legion for the first time. And the amount of detail and the amount of, man hours they probably had to put, women hours as well. I don't want to discriminate or leave anyone out. But that they had to put into making their costumes look so professional.
Yeah. At first I bought mine. I've made a couple of them. And now I'm going to try, knock on wood, and work on my own Jedi costumes and my own. I want to make a librarian costume, a Coruscant librarian. Mm-hmm. So I want to get to that point of making my own. So it's a work in progress, because I'm cutting out patterns and things like that, and it's still really confusing for me, but I know I'll get it. Because I want to be part of that. And
absolutely.
And like I said, the very first time I saw people dressed up, that's when it hit me. That's when I knew. I guess it was my visual. That was my visual that really sealed the deal for me, that I wanted to do this.
Yeah. So. Yeah. That's all to me. That's awesome. I would love to cosplay. I talk about it with my friend Alex all the time, and we plan on doing so. Soon though, and I would want my first cosplay to be a Jedi. I don't. There's nothing that really stands out in my head as far as that I would want to just go in and
Galen Merrick.
I don't mind being Galen Merrick at all. At all. It's actually long overdue. I would love to be Galen Merrick.
Yeah, you need to.
Cosplay. Yeah.
Okay, so next week, what are we going to be talking about? Let's go over music again, because I really do like that, because now we have episode 8 and 9, so we can 7, 8, and 9, so we can delve into some of that, and we also have Rogue One. We also have the solo movie that we can delve into and the music
which
that
had
we
great
like from there.
which had great music.
Yeah, they do.
Which had really
yeah, they
great
do.
music. Yeah,
so
absolutely.
we're going to do a show on music again. At the end of the month, we will be at WonderCon. Aaron's going to be there on Saturday.
Yes,
I will
am.
be there the entire time.
Yeah,
till the doors close.
So make sure you guys find us, and I'll have some stuff. I'll have some shirts and some beanies and different merch to give out to everybody.
Yeah,
too,
that'll be cool. So Aaron will be there on Saturday. So if you get a chance, please check it out because he is with the fabulous Mad Studios where we record from.
Yes, we are. Yeah, we will be there in full effect, guys. So make sure you guys find us on the floor, please.
Yes. So from all of us here at Radio Geonosis, we're going to see you next time. Please check us out on Facebook at Radio Geonosis 2.0. Please like and subscribe on our YouTube channel, Radio Geonosis. And
we are also on Podbean and iTunes, so make sure you guys check us out. And make sure you guys, again, follow Mad Studios HQ on Instagram. Again, that is Mad Studios HQ. This is the hub where we record the episodes of Radio Geonosis that you guys love so much. So make sure you guys check us out, please.
So from all of us here at Radio Geonosis, we'll see you next time.
Later, guys.
Bye.